Hello everyone, this is Brian, bringing you episode 19 of Reusable Kerbal Space Program. This mission is pretty much completely mundane. In fact, it was so mundane that, I don't know, I was kind of torn on whether to even include it at all, because it's pretty much all goes according to plan, but because it does that, I will probably use this as more of a tutorial style video about how to do a rendezvous with a station. What this vehicle, this launch booster, is delivering is a small station tug. In the previous episode I had some difficulty using the orbital transfer vehicle for its secondary purpose of maneuvering a payload from this booster up to the station. So this payload is essentially a smart monopropellant tank. That's its job. That's all it has on it is monopropellant, some batteries, a probe core, thrusters, and most importantly 2 large docking nodes on either side of it. So it can detach from the station, maneuver over to the booster, and then take the payload from the booster to the station with ease. So on launch, of course, I targeted the station. I waited for the station to pass just overhead. The station is orbiting at around 118 kilometers, and the plan here is that I want it to be ahead of me when this makes it into orbit, so that I have time to get everything set and do the Hohmann transfer up to the higher orbit. Setting up the circularization node. Now we're pretty close to adding Kerbals to the station. I think this is the second to last launch here before we send a crew up there. Now, for you beginners out there, whenever you're burning nodes, or most of the time when you're burning nodes, unless it's like a landing burn, what you want to do is you look at the estimated burn time, and you want to burn half of that before the node and half of that after the node. So if your estimated burn is 1 minute, and you have 30 seconds to go for the node, time to node is 30 seconds, then you start burning, you'll burn half of that before, and you just keep on going, and you'll end it at node plus 30 seconds. Now my planes are fairly well matched. If they aren't, you want to do that first. I think I make an adjustment to this plane later, but right now I'm setting up the Hohmann transfer. So I drop a node in there, and I burn, I'm going to higher orbit, so I want to burn prograde on that node until the orbit matches the target orbit, and then I move the node around so that I and the target are crossing paths at the same moment. They're looking at those markers. And you can kind of fuss around with it and get those as close as you can. And generally speaking, if you can't get them really close, like you can't get those down to a half a kilometer or less, there's usually something wrong with your inclination. You're not totally matched, or you need to adjust your prograde or retrograde slightly to get it to be right on the target orbit. And I think that was the transfer burn right there. It was very, very quick on that big engine. So now I'm trying to see here if I can get the planes just right. I'm looking at the ascending or descending node, and then burning. If it's ascending, you're going to burn down towards the south. And if it's descending, you're going to burn north towards the top. Okay, I can see that since I'm pointing north, that must have been a descending node. And the way you look at this is you try to look at it, let's see, through the plane, so you can't see, it looks like a one-dimensional orbit, and then you adjust yours so that the two sit right on top of each other. And with the help of MechJib there, I can see that my relative inclination is now exactly, what is it, 0.04, I think that says. So that's pretty good. I'm just making a nice small adjustment here, seeing if I can get my closest approach a little bit closer than 1.9. Actually, I take that back. That was matching velocities with target. I'm sorry. I'm doing this in post. So I have to watch my video and kind of figure out what's going on here. So when you burn up to the other one's orbit, remember you just made your orbit a little bit eccentric, right? A little more like an ellipse. You're not moving as fast as the target. So when you get up to the target and you're very, very close to it, you need to increase your speed, do one more burn, which raises the other side of your orbit up to the target orbit, thus matching velocities with it. So then you're pretty much stationary with it, and you just need to burn straight forward at that point, which is what I'm doing with the little tug. Very simple vehicle, like I said, just has a fuel tank there in the middle. It has a compartment on the top which houses the probe core, batteries, and I think that's it. And on top of that is the docking port. And because this is always going to be pretty much in close proximity to other vehicles, I did not put extending solar panels on it. I just put some small solar panels on the side. Chances are the batteries on this will never get low, and those should keep it topped off. Now when I was flying this, I was just thinking, well, I'll just get this docked. And then I realized that, you know what, I've got work for you to do. So after I get docked, I'm going to actually rearrange these science modules and stuff so that it looks like it's like I envisioned it. Okay. So we got it docked up. Now, even though this is just here for a second, I'm kind of checking the resources here, seeing how much monopropellant is in that OTV ship. Go ahead and fill that up. I'm not going to need a lot of monopropellant to move the science modules around. So by lightening it, I'm making it more fuel efficient. Turning off those engines just in case. That's a good idea, you know, that sometimes your pinky goes for the Alt key and sometimes it goes for Shift. If you hit Shift and you throttle up, now you're going to have a spinning station, and sometimes they'll tear themselves apart. So it's best to just have the engine shut down if you're not going to use them. maneuvering around in a circle here. Okay, attached. I'm going to detach that module. Telling it to control from there, to make this a little bit easier. Get everything lined up, get the nose lined up, get the prograde vector sitting right on the target indicator there on the nav ball, and connection. Very easy. I'm already very happy with this little tug at this point. Now I'm going to move this other science module around to be opposite of the MKS science module we just used. The idea being that anything coming in with science experiments that need to be processed will dock where this module is docked right now. And there we go. Now right now the OTV is attached to where pretty much all my storage is going to be on the station, so I'm going to move this around to the very, very bottom of it. If I keep going according to plan, down here there will be several nodes that are just there to dock spaceships. Kind of the business end of this station here. That thing puts out so much light, it's ridiculous. Okay. Stowing the lights. Now I'll move the tug around to a better place for it to sit, which is probably over by the storage section for now. Nope, I'd forgotten about this. Looks like I chose to move the storage container around. This container contains lots of food and water and oxygen and various resources that Kerbals need to live in here. Okay, here we are back at booster land, so to speak, and the booster still has 1,300 meters per second on it, so I can do a massive deorbit burn here. Looks like this will be coming down at about a 45-degree angle. I'm usually leaving about, I think at this point I'm leaving about 70 delta V for the actual touchdown. And now I'm finally getting smart and I'm putting the crosshairs directly on the waypoint. Okay, burning this node for accuracy as well. Half before, half after the node. Now, what you didn't see there is that I did lower this down to, roughly a 70-kilometer orbit before doing this deorbit burn. I'm using a little RCS here. That node burning did not go totally according to plan, so I'm trying to move the crosshairs more to the west onto the waypoint again. Okay, here it comes. What I did there is I shut down the engine and then throttled up and turned on RCS, which means it will just stay on, thrusting forward. That way I don't have to hold my hand on the key, and then when I was done I wanted to activate the engine again for landing. Alright, looking pretty good. Definitely not going to overshoot this. If I did nothing, it looks like I'll land right on the beach. There we go. That will steepen my trajectory quite a bit. Looks like I'll be landing about 200 meters away from the waypoint. And there we go. Alright, thank you for watching. Next up, machinery launch for the station. Have a good night.